Hello, everybody. I'm recording this podcast from my dining room table. Just a reminder that I do put the video versions of these podcasts onto my YouTube channel, Dr. Jin Ong. I'll pop that in the podcast notes for you. But my family, Gavin and Violet, are away for 6 weeks holiday time. They are in Nepal, and they're just about to head to Turkey tomorrow to meet up with Gav's family. And then they are going to spend a little bit of time in Dublin, which is where Gavin is from. So I always love my alone time. A lot of people are asking me why I didn't go, or am I missing them? My answer is usually no, I'm not missing them, because I really love my time alone, just to chill out and be on my own schedule. Also, my ankle, I did record a podcast about this. My ankle is on a very slow road to recovery. I'll record another podcast on this because I do have a little bit of an update. But they were going to be doing a lot of trekking in Nepal, and my ankle probably wouldn't have been up to it. So I've been spending lots of time with my horse, Tilly. I've been posting pictures of all the things that I've been doing with her on Instagram, and she's just awesome. She's going to be moving to Wanaka soon at the start of June. Anyway, I have been wanting to record this podcast about the heart and the sacral chakra connection for a little while. So I'm just going to do it for you today. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, I do use the chakra system to help me work out what emotions someone might be storing in their body. And therefore, that helps me work out what emotions I might help them process through the verbal dialogue process, the release process that I use with my clients and what I teach. But I think it's really interesting just to hear about the chakras regardless. And I'll try and cover a few conditions here. So the chakras help me because I don't really interpret conditions per se or disease states. It's more about the location. So without going into teaching you about chakras, you can just listen to this and it will land for you if you've got any issues going on around the heart chakra space. So the heart chakra location is across your chest. So the breast area in males and females, it's your upper arms, and it's across the back as well. So some of the physical conditions, although I don't just work with physical conditions, I work with people's mental stuff, behavioral dysfunctions, and spiritual and energetic things as well. But the physical is always the easiest to explain, because most people experience the odd niggle or pain here and there. So when I look at the heart chakra, I look at the location, which is the chest, the back, and the upper arm area, and basically anything that affects this area of the body. So you could have rashes on your skin, you could have the lumpy bumps on the backs of your arm, you could have any sort of issues going on with your breast or your nipple area for males and females. You can also go around to the back of your body, around where your wings or your shoulder blades are. And some of you experience burning pain or itching, or sometimes you might get tension through your back, or you might be unfortunate enough to get something like a rib sprain, which kind of feels like a heart attack. A rib sprain gives you that really sharp stabbing pain, like someone's sticking a knife in your back. And it can hurt when you breathe, cough, and sneeze. And it's quite acute. And some people find that they will keep getting this flare up of their rib, or they describe it as the pain behind their wing or behind their shoulder blade. They'll get it over and over again, and it seems to come up quite randomly. So whenever someone says that they have an issue affecting any of these areas. And it goes beyond that. Actually, you could go down into the organs as well. So into the heart and into the lung area. But basically, I use the chakras to identify a location and therefore what emotions are stored. So that's the heart chakra. And there are some secondary areas, but I don't really get into that unless I'm teaching on my courses. Sorry if you can hear Lola. She's running around and she's got a tag on her neck. But yeah, the heart chakra represents this area. And each chakra governs emotions. And they govern the positive or the light emotions, but they also govern the negative or the dark emotions. And one of my favorite places to go with all of this work is the dark side. But the light emotions that the heart chakra governs are around love, unconditional love, conditional love, nurturing, nourishment, gratitude, appreciation, and connection, which is one of the basic human needs. And forgiveness as well. I think I always forget to mention that because sometimes I find that people really bypass and they want to get into the love, the forgiveness, the gratitude, the appreciation. And that's where I say that this work isn't about just focusing on the positive, the mantras and the goal setting. I love all of this, but there is a time and a place for it. And I really believe that you've got to, if you're willing, to go into the dark stuff and process that before you can really navigate or feel the lighter emotions or the positive emotions. And we live with these dualities in life of light and dark, positive and negative. And quite often, if you experience one, then you can experience the other. And most people don't want to experience the dark stuff. But when you experience the dark stuff, the negative stuff, you've got a lot more capacity to actually really appreciate the light and the positive stuff. So a lot of people are like, oh, I just want to love and I just want to forgive. And they try and ignore the past dark emotions that will govern the heart chakra. And so this is what I always love to bring light to. So the darker emotions of chakra that it governs is hatred, resentment, injustice, jealousy, and a sense of betrayal. So when I usually describe the chakras and the emotions, people will listen and they will start to have all of these memories pinging off in their head. And that is what helps me recognize, and for them to recognize what events they can start processing and therefore what emotions they are storing in their body. So if they've got anything happening around the heart chakra location that I described before, it's usually that they will have some sort of stored emotions, particularly around the dark and the negative stuff that they're not quite aware of, they can't access, or they're bypassing and ignoring. But then why are these emotions there? Why are these dark and negative emotions, which are normal, not negative necessarily, but that's just how we perceive them, so I'll use that language. Why is it that that person is storing emotions around betrayal, resentment, hatred, injustice, jealousy, and so on? It is usually tied to an event or a person in their life. And so the aim is to get the person to remember, who was it or what situation were you in that brings up these emotions, brings them up, but you have an inability to process them. And that's why they're stored in your body. And when it gets too much for your body to store these emotions and it can't compensate anymore, they start to manifest physically, mentally, behaviorally, spiritually, and energetically. So in this episode, I am just talking about the physical manifestations because it is the easiest one to describe, but there are many other manifestations of the heart chakra getting out of balance or being affected by different events in your life and the emotions that you store. Now, This episode is about the heart and the sacral chakra connection. And it's something that's become really obvious to me as I work with more people. So if you're familiar with the chakra system, it kind of moves from the bottom up. And a lot of people think, oh, I have to work on everything from the first or the base chakra, and then I've got to move up in order. But you might have some really obvious stuff going on around your heart chakra, around your chest area, and you can go straight there. But what is interesting is that there is a really close link with the sacral chakra, which is the second chakra, which is around your pelvic bowl, your hips and your pelvis. Again, they have secondary areas, but we won't go into it in this. And the sacral chakra governs emotions around all of your relationships in life. So it governs emotions around relationships with your family, parents, grandparents. It could even be great grandparents. It can be extended family. It can also be your intimate partner, the partner that you're yet to meet, and also your historical relationships. And I find it really interesting to go into historical relationships where there might be unrequited love, where there might have been affairs, where you cheated or you were cheated on. It can be fertility issues, miscarriages and abortions. It can be the relationship that you have with your kids, the relationship that you have with your friends and your social network, your work colleagues. It can also, on an energetic level, have to do with your relationship with sex, money, and power. So I really find that you can connect to more of the energetic aspects of a chakra when you have worked with the emotions, which seem a little bit more tangible for most people. And the energetic stuff tends to just kind of happen as you start working at this deeper level. So there is a really strong connection between the heart and the sacral chakra, because if you think of, okay, if there's dark stuff around resentment, hatred, betrayal, jealousy, sense of injustice, these kinds of emotions are usually held because of an interaction with somebody. So therefore, that's why I go to the sacral chakra. So usually I would be getting people to be doing processes with these people, with these events that their memory is triggering off as a result of listening to what I have to share around what the heart stores and what the sacral stores. So that's the fascinating link from my perspective of the heart and the sacral chakra. If you have come across chakra work, I want to let you know you don't need to move through them in order, especially if you are working on the emotional level. I guess I feel like I talk about the chakras a little bit differently and how I use them. As mentioned, it helps me work out what emotions someone might be storing around who or what event, and therefore gives me the platform and the foundation for someone to start doing a release process, which is a verbal dialogue process that I teach my clients and that I facilitate with them. Because a lot of people know that they've got emotions that are stored in their body that are affecting them perhaps in a negative way, physically, mentally, behaviorally, but they're like, I don't know what emotion I'm storing. I just know it's in there and I want it out. What is it? So I talked about the physical ailments of the heart chakra, but it can just be a sense around the heart area. Panic attacks is something that's just come up for me. So panic attacks, or feeling like that heaviness of bricks on your chest, which is usually anxiety. I talked a little bit about organs before, the heart and the lungs. The heart emotions are around joy. If we think of more expressions, joy and laughter, singing is another expression of the heart. And for the lungs, this is around grief and sadness. So if you've ever lost someone, or if you've lost a pet in your life, or you've just felt incredibly sad, usually you will feel that emotion in your chest area. So again, if you think of grief and loss, it often has to do with someone in your life. Now, I have spoken in the past, and maybe I'll do another episode on this. Grief is not just about loss of a person. It can be pets, it can be body parts, it can be the life that you once had, and so on. But for argument's sake, for talking about the heart and the sacral, usually if you think of grief and sadness, it does have something to do with a relationship with someone, whether it be your pet or somebody in your life. So hopefully this has given you a little bit of insight. You might find that whenever you listen to the podcast episodes, or if you listen to any of the explanations I share about chakras, you might get some memories pop up. And this is an indication of something that you can work with and what you can process. So the chakras are fascinating. I hope you get to learn about them one day with me. I usually teach them on the release course. This happens once or twice a year. I'll put a link of about the release course in the show notes as well. You can always join the wait list and find out when the next one is happening. We're in May 2022 at the moment. So the next one will be running in August. And it's 6 weeks. Lots of life-changing transformations happen on that for those who are ready. And that is where I teach all of the chakras and help people interpret what is going on in their amazing body. So I hope this has helped you. Flick me an email, send me a social media message. I always love to hear from you and anything that landed. All right. Have a great day, evening, wherever you are.